So I can't even comprehend the lunacy right now that I just read this article. It's absolutely insane. The UK has decided to do more stimmy checks essentially while trying to combat inflation. I can't even believe that that's a real thing right now. So they passed this bill spending plan, whatever it is. I don't know, or maybe it's in the works of passing or something like that. I'm not really sure of the thing. I'm not from the UK, so I don't know. But essentially, the start of it was a windfall tax. I've never really heard of that, so I kind of looked at it. I was interested to see what a windfall tax is, and essentially what it is that because of unique circumstances, a company makes too much profits. According to the government, they make too much profits. I guess profit that they don't necessarily deserve, or necessarily that they didn't work harder for, sort of like a commodities thing. So oil prices skyrocket, and because they skyrocketed, you made too much money. So that wasn't because of your own doing. You don't get to keep all that money. Granted, I guarantee on the opposite side of the spectrum, when oil went negative or when oil dropped and they had losses and major losses, the government was sitting there saying, it wasn't saying, well, you lost too much money, let us go in there and compensate you so that you remain at, this, we like you in this range. You can have this much money every year, but if you're below that much, we don't really care. Go out of business. You're a terrible piece of crap human corporation. But if you're up here, whoa, you didn't really work for that. I mean, you didn't do anything. You haven't had a business. You don't get to use that for research and development to find more oil and gas or anything. No. No, what we're going to do is we're going to take that. We're going to take that money. You don't deserve that money. You didn't do anything. Okay, well, I mean, a lot of the part of that money, I mean, that the oil prices and everything going up was a lot of these government sanctions that went into place. So the government, you know, sees it, creates a problem, and the government goes in to try and fix said problem. So here's their fix and their solution: taxing the oil companies' profits at 25% on top of the taxes they already pay. So it's an additional tax. And if we just peel that one piece back there, I own a business, and if the government came to me and said, just, hey, dude, you're gonna, you made too much money. I own a car dealership. So if they said, hey, you know what, you made too much money selling these cars. If I'm sitting here selling cars and I'm, let's say, for example, this is not true at all, by the way. But let's say I was making $5,000 a car. Okay. That's a lot of money to make on a car. So let's just say I'm making that much money selling a car. My average is more closely down to like $800, really, honestly, if you want to know, after expenses and everything like that. But let's just say they came out and said, okay, well, because of the car market and chip shortage and all that kind of stuff, you're making $5,000 a car. We're going to put taxes on top of that price of that profit that you're making. So you finally made some money, and now we're going to take it. Well, if I was making more money than I'd ever made before, and all of a sudden now, I was going from making $5,000, I was selling 100 cars, let's say, and I was making $5,000 in profit, and I had $500,000 in profit. But let's just say I could live off of, my business could survive off of, let's say 100,000 in profit. So now I finally get to fatten my paycheck a little bit, give me a house, do some things like that. But the government came out and said this stuff to me and said, hey, you're going to have to pay 25% on that profit there. I'm sitting there going, okay, so I'm gonna have to pay you $100,000 because I made extra money from selling cars, and such. Well, I'm just gonna make less money then. I'm gonna say, forget it. If I'm gonna have to pay $100,000 anyways, well, then I might as well reduce how much I make or how much I put out, because I can live off the $100,000, right? And now I'm just a small business, right? But if you're an oil company, you've got a lot of money, like a lot of money. And your business is made a little bit different. It's all about what you pull out of the ground, right? It's what you produce out of the ground. Me, I have to go buy things, put it in inventory, do all sorts of stuff, right? But if I'm an oil company and I sit there and somebody says that to me, and I can make and run my business off of oil that way, why would I not just store the oil and wait for this whole windfall tax to pass? Or what I also know is if I reduce my supply of oil, that causes prices to go up. So that doesn't happen in the car, in the car industry there. I'm I'm a little car lot, right? So if I said, that's it, I'm only going to sell 5 cars a month now. Well, everybody else is going to sell way more. It's not going to stop anything. If you're one of these, what they consider oil giants, and you say, well, we used to produce 100 barrels a day, we're going to produce like 50 now. Because the oil's down on the ground. I only get to use it for certain things. Why am I going to pay more? If I'm going to pay 25% in taxes, I might as well wait for the prices to go up by 25%, and I still get my nut. So I'm curious to see if that actually does happen, if that does reduce the supply of oil and cause the prices to go up even higher because of this stuff. It's similar to what happens when they do price controls the price for a temporary time period, supply gets reduced, and so less people can afford it, but it's the same price, but less people get it. And then when that gets changed and everybody can rush into it, drives the price up, and then eventually supply can be met to match that and drive it back down. But my other point was they decided now to take lower income people and they're going to provide them monthly checks to afford everything. And that sounds noble. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's I feel really bad for people that can't afford things right now. I mean, it's just awful for them. It's absolutely awful through no doing of their own. Basically, the only doing they really had was trusting the government, and really, the government did them a disservice by all this excess money printing, by locking people down. All these things that they did caused this inflation, and I know they're going to blame, the other country over there fighting with Ukraine and everything like that. I'm not sure if YouTube allows you to say that stuff, but at the end of the day, they're literally throwing more money at an inflation problem. I think their inflation's like 7-8% right now, somewhere in that 7 to 8, not 78, 7 to 8%. And their solution is, we got this inflation. What do we do? We got this inflation. We're printing too much money. What do we do? Well, I've got this crazy idea. What if we threw more money at it? Brilliant. Where do you come up with this madness? It's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Like, I think we're all pretty much getting a crash course in inflation right now. And I think that we would probably all think that that's not how you do it. Now, I know over in America, Biden's trying to say, well, if we raise corporate taxes, inflation goes away. It's all inflation. Don't you know inflation's all about how much money the government collects? And if they collect less, we have more inflation. Obviously, this is how this whole thing works. I can't fathom the thought process of people that believe this garbage. But anywho, guys, I just saw that article. I thought it was very interesting. I can put the link to the article in there. I put it on my Twitter page too. But yeah, I just find it completely fascinating that it seems very much that people that we elect or people that are in charge have absolutely no clue what's really going on. And obviously there's probably some other hidden agenda because you pump money into it. I'm sure Louis Vuitton is going to get, stock price is going to shoot up. I'm sure that a lot of these companies that, that you're just basically stimulating the economy with stuff. People aren't really spending it on gas and food. I mean, there's going to be some people that do, but most people are going to go spend it on, other stuff, just non-essentials. Because once they pay for the money and their food and their gas, they got to, I got extra money, I just got to spend it. And that's why they tend to give money to poorer people, because poorer people will spend that money at rich people's businesses. I mean, that's really kind of the way that it works, because by definition, if you were, had money or middle class or something like that, you had something in savings, tends to be. But if you're poor, you spend most of your money on, your living expenses, and so you're not used to having money. And that's why in my business, tax season is a huge thing, because you're giving people, I literally saw people that made $12,000 a year. Because we do taxes at our business during tax season, I literally saw people that made $12,000 a year getting $18,000 checks. $18,000 tax checks. It's no wonder they don't go work. I'm sure that if she made more money, or these, I mean, it was not just her, it was several people, a lot of people actually got, the amount of people that got like basically their entire income in a tax return baffled my mind. I'd never seen anything like it before. So, I mean, you disincentivize somebody to work. Like, oh, okay, you can go work double as much as you worked, and you know what? You're probably going to get less in taxes. Or you can just do exactly what you've been doing, and you're going to get double pay at the end of the year. Okay, but the problem is you give somebody like that who's made, let's say, $17,000 all year, $17,000 check. And what do you think they're going to do? They're just going to spend it. They missed their car payment after they got a $17,000 check. That's how crazy it is. That's how crazy it is. Now, I mean, they were like 2 weeks late, said they didn't have any money. I was like, I just gave you $17,000. Oh, yeah, but I spent it. I needed new clothes and this and that. I mean, whatever. I don't give a whatever. You spend your money on it. It's your money. Spend it on whatever you want. I don't really care. But it's fascinating how little you can make all year and how quickly you can blow through something like that. And that's tends to be, I find, why they give money to people that tend to spend like that, because it does actually stimulate things. I do actually think that trickle up, in a sense, works, because if you're giving money to people that are on lower income, they're going to spend it at businesses that are eventually going to profit. Now, granted, the problem you get is that it does make rich people even richer, and that's kind of like the opposite of what the government wants. But I mean, it is a way to boost things. And just look at the stock market. Look at everybody's business. Look how many new billionaires are out there. I mean, look how many new millionaires were out there and created. I mean, why? I mean, look at what happens with the stock market. You're like, oh, YOLO, just send it all out there. Free money, just push it out there. I mean, there's no thinking involved. It's just spend, 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 spend. And I think that does actually, but so far it seems to work. Experiment seems to work. Definitely makes things interesting, said it at least. Anyways, I'm rambling now. I'm getting off topic. I'm getting out of subject, so I'm going to sign off on this thing. But I just wanted to kind of think through this like brain puzzle here that you're going to throw more money at an inflation problem just doesn't make any sense to me. So let me know in the comments if you guys think it makes sense, if anything like that makes sense in it. If anything I talked about with my business or anything like that you guys want to know more about, just let me know. I have no problem opening up about anything that I do. So thanks, guys, and have a good one.